Yeah, so shaved my mustache off, which against the counsel of my wife and really my own counsel. I'm like, this is going to look stupid. And I know that because I've done it before and it always does look stupid. But on the flip side, it's way more comfortable. And, these are times when I think you need to put comfort above aesthetics, right? And it seems to be the time for that. Of course, I never was really a master of the visuals anyway, I mean, like, who the fuck am I kidding? Got, like, these big, pendulous, fucking threateningly heavy man tits that I could use to clobber someone with, Gigantic, bulbous gut, cellulite, chunky ass, But I need to make sure my face looks good, So people tell me I look like a Muslim. I look like an Amish dude. I look like a hillbilly. And one person said I look like a lesbian. So I guess I look like an Amish Muslim hillbilly lesbian, which, seems like a pretty good fucking resume. So what's been going on in my world? Let's see. Well, I fucked up some red beans and rice the other day. That was a tragedy because, that's a process, man, And I had a really good feeling about those red beans and rice. Like, first of all, you got to soak the motherfucking red beans and rice overnight. So that's a long, that's more patience than almost anything I do in my life, Soak the red beans for 24 hours to get them where they need to be, Get all that starch out of them and all that other stuff. And I've made red beans and rice before. It's not like I'm not like a novice at this, I'm good at fucking red beans and rice. I can make some fucking goddamn dynamite ass red beans and rice that'll knock your fucking socks off. But these, maybe they'll knock your socks off too, but in the other fucking direction, It's like the scene from the fucking Wizard of Oz where the feet curl up under the house, Like that kind of fucking knock your socks off. I don't know what the fuck happened. This is a hideous fucking tragedy, man. But that's pretty much all that's going on. I've been watching a lot of movies. That's why it kind of pisses me off when people are like, man, fuck celebrities, man. And they're like, there's a bunch of celebrities sing like Imagine or do some cringy bullshit on Twitter. And everyone's like, yeah, fuck celebrities. Fuck these uptight fucking Hollywood actors with their heads in the clouds. What's on Netflix? It's like, man, I'm using what they do more than ever. So, like, whatever. If they want to sing a cringy ass, horrible version of Imagine, here's what I do. I just don't watch that garbage. I don't fucking write a screen. Oh, fucking Gal Gadot is out of touch with the common man. It's like, no shit. She's got tens of millions of fucking dollars. You know who gave it to her? You. Every time you're like, I want to see what the new Wonder Woman's like. So shut the fuck up about celebrities and your industry. Why don't I get paid $10 million for slicing ham at Subway? It's not fair. Anyway, overly harsh maybe. But yeah, life's moving at a snail's pace these days. On a personal level. But then on like an international, global level, it's like, blah, 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 It's like a fucking crazy juxtaposition. So Streamlabs, Super Chats, all that shit is open. I know a lot of people are in dire financial times. If you are one of those people, please don't give your money to YouTubers, including me. I mean, maybe sign up for the Pessimist Productions Patreon because that's like a shit ton of content for $5 fucking bucks a month or $10 a month if you want to go to that level. But, just like these Super Chat Streamlab things where you don't really get anything out of it, if you're fucking broke, if you just lost your job, don't fucking give money to YouTubers, myself included. But, speaking of unemployment, it's kind of the first thing that I have slated to be talked about here. Well, let's first start with a COVID update. Because, of course, you're incapable of looking up the information yourself. You need someone else to tell you what's going on with this COVID shit, right? All right, so here it is. COVID motherfucking 19. Let's refresh it. I don't think I've refreshed in a while. The numbers might even be higher by now. Yeah, they are. Fucking son of a bitch. People still catching this motherfucker, right? We're almost up to 1.1 million cases right now. Over a quarter of the motherfuckers. Well, I don't know if we're over a quarter in the U.S. I'm not good enough at math to figure that out. But it's about a fucking quarter. About a quarter of the cases. Yeah, that's a quarter. Quarter of the fucking cases, U.S. What the fuck? We had so much advance warning. We knew it was coming. I still remember the day that Trump was on TV saying we had 15 cases. And it's going to go down. It's going down, y'all. Pretty soon it's going to be zero. A scant few weeks later, you got fucking 277,953 confirmed motherfucking cases. How many deaths we got in this country? 7,152 fucking deaths off of this coronavirus, right? Gotcha. Oh, yeah. You feeling that? You feeling that, everybody? Does it taste delicious to you? Okay, good. Good. So let's talk about some of the economic ramifications. So the week ending in March 28th, that's, a few days ago, had 6.6 million new jobless claims. The week before that, it was 3.28 million new claims. The New York Times is reporting that the unemployment rate right now is probably about 13%, but people are the economy is shedding jobs so fast that no one is really able to keep track of where we're at right now. But we're at 13% most likely. And if we are at 13%, that is the highest rate of joblessness since the Great Depression. The height of the Great Depression, we had 24.9% unemployment. And by the way, people talk about the Great Depression these days like this was some fucking, man, that was a tough couple weeks. Woo! No, the Great Depression was like a decade of fucking economic downturn and misery and joblessness and despair and fucking all kinds of other shit. And some economists argue that if not for World War II and the crazy ramping up of our industrial capacity and all of the money that fucking Uncle Sam pumped into that war, if we hadn't done that, then we would never have fucking got out of the Great Depression. Well, not never, but that was the thing that finally pushed us the fuck out of it. That's the Keynesian view. As you could probably tell at a glance that I am a fucking economist and I understand exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the fucking economy, right? I mean, if you can't trust a fucking Amish, Muslim, lesbian hillbilly on the economy, who the fuck can you trust? I pose that question to you guys. So I wanted to show you guys this graph that's been going around to kind of give you a sense of what's going on with this economic downturn. This is a graph that's been making the rounds on Twitter here. And you can see it's trying to put the whole jobless claims thing into context. There's now. Boom. Oh, yeah. Everything's gonna be just fine. Oh, look at that. Would you look at that? Up and up it goes. Just makes the whole rest of the fucking history of the chart look like a goddamn wet fucking dream. Doesn't it? Opportunity, though. Times of turmoil are also times of opportunity. Can you hear it? That's opportunity knocking. But unfortunately, I don't know if the left is listening right now. You'd think that this confluence of factors, like I keep hearing it said, reality has endorsed Bernie Sanders. And I can understand exactly what that means, right? Because, Bernie Sanders, his primary issues, healthcare, the economy, healthcare, the economy. The workers are getting screwed over. The people of this country need healthcare. The counter argument to Medicare for all is like, well, people love the insurance they get from their employers, bitch. Well, 10 million people just lost their jobs right when they needed their fucking healthcare the most. Oops. You would think that something like that would make people turn back to Bernie Sanders and go, maybe that old kook is on to something. We'll get to that later. So Bernie Sanders has proposed he's working on some new coronavirus legislation. We just had the $2 trillion bill. Bernie Sanders and some of his colleagues in Congress working on a new bill that would I'll give you some of the basic things it does. Obviously, it does a lot more than this. One of the things it does, $2,000 a month for every American until the coronavirus has passed. So until such time where we can look at the landscape of America and say, well, that coronavirus shit is over. Everybody gets $2,000 a month. Andrew Yang is like, God damn it, I was late to the fucking party. It would freeze all rents, freeze all mortgages. It would guarantee as a right paid medical leave for workers. It would be a temporary expansion of all Medicare, basically a trial run of Medicare for all. Now, obviously, Bernie Sanders is realistic. He's like, well, I'm not going to get Medicare for all passed, in the middle of a fucking pandemic because, well, I mean, you would honestly think that would be the best time to pass it, but, the logic, not by the logic of American politics. And there's a bunch of other ideas in the bill, too. It's a lot of the typical Bernie Sanders talking points, but, kind of on steroids and much more reactive to the needs of the fucking now. Right? But some people on the left are not impressed by this recent development, such as Jimmy Dore, who is calling for Bernie to use his political machinery and, the structure of his campaign and his mailing lists and all that stuff. He wants Bernie to call for a national strike on rent, mortgages, student loan debt, and credit card debt. Let's take a look at Jimmy Dore basically tearing into Bernie Sanders and all of the mainstream sort of leftist politicians and telling them that now is their time and basically calling them pussies for not jumping on it. So here's Jimmy Dore with that. Bloop.
And so take a look at this. You're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and speed him back down. I was listening at double speed.
All those 25,000 people who liked it. Oh, now, finally now, you are surprised like, Bernie, what the fuck? Where were you 3 days? Today's April 1st. Why are you getting behind this? We need to suspend rent? Go back to that, please. We need to? How about you call for a rent strike, you motherfucker, and you tag Wall Street and you tell them, hey, guess what? My supporters aren't fucking paying their rent this fucking month. My supporters aren't paying their mortgages or their credit card bills this fucking month. Until you reconvene Congress and we get Medicare for all, because we're going to have 30% unemployment, which means 50% of the country isn't going to have health insurance. And so we got to get ahead of that instead of fucking reacting like I always do because I'm a shitty leader. So I'm telling you how to lead. You need to demand Medicare for all now, you fucking motherfucker, and you need the grocery strikers to do it. No excuses. Do it now. Every delay is more people dead. Anyone delaying Medicare for all now is a murderer. That's what you have to say, Bernie. Anyone delaying Medicare for all now is a murderer, and I'm calling on all my followers not to pay their rent, their mortgage, their credit card bills, or their student loans, or go to work at a grocery store until we convene Congress to get Medicare for all, or promise to do so within the week. We do rolling strikes. Nobody go to work until noon. And then we can reconvene Congress and we get this done. And if they don't, we do no more. We do more. That's what a leader does.
I don't know what.
Bernie's not going to fucking do it.
Can I say this?
So, this kind of goes into something that I've thought for a while now, and sorry, my headphones seem to be having a mind of their own right now. But it's something I've thought about, and I think a lot of people, you know, especially these kind of establishment Democrat voters, the Joe Biden voters that are so fucking terrified of the Bernie Sanders political revolution, you know, like, oh my God, he's a nut job. He's crazy. What they never got, what they never understood, is that Bernie Sanders is not, he's not the guy really leading the revolution. He never was. He's the guy who was like, hey, let me try this. Let me try fixing things through the system by becoming the president so that you guys don't have to do a fucking political, an actual revolution. I'm going to do this political revolution so that you guys don't have to, you know, we don't have to fucking have like the fucking 1930s again. We don't have to have the riots. We don't have to have, you know, the worker strikes, you know, and all this stuff. Bernie was about, let's fix things before it gets to that point. But the coronavirus has just kicked shit into fucking hyperdrive. So now we have, you know, not mainstream political commentator voices, but, you know, top level sort of alternative insurgent left media voices like Jimmy Dore, who are now calling for a general strike, a general national strike. He's basically saying to people that what he's advocating for Bernie Sanders to do at this point, in case you didn't, you know, get what he just said, which I think you did, but I'll reiterate it just in case anyone needs it, is that Bernie Sanders should use the machinery of his campaign to call for like a general strike across America. If you know, don't pay your rent, don't pay your credit card bill, don't pay your student loans, don't pay your mortgage. If you work at a grocery store, go on strike. If you're a truck driver, go on strike. Just a general, like all these essential workers that are it's now been proven are so vital to the function of the economy. It's obvious that the balance of power is, they have the power because they're the ones who are truly essential in the economy. And it's become plainly obvious for everyone to see. So he's saying we need to start advocating for people to use that power to demand change. Not, let's go vote for Bernie Sanders and see if he can get something past the Congress, but just like, let's shut this motherfucker down. The establishment has never been weaker than it is right now. Let's shut this shit down and make a list of fucking demands. That's where Jimmy Dore is at this point. Now, we're already seeing strikes happen across the country. We haven't seen them coalesce into one super strike, which would be the concept of the general strike, but we're seeing strikes at Amazon. We're seeing strikes at Instacart. We are seeing renter strikes. We're seeing people say, hey, I lost my job. I can't pay. I'm not working. I can't pay. I'm not going to pay. Fuck you. Entire buildings full of people, are going to their landlords and saying, none of us are going to pay. Go fuck yourself. We don't have the money. We don't have work. You're just going to have to do without the rent this month. Until this crisis is over, fuck you and fuck your rent. Those strikes are happening. We've seen some localized strikes of fast food workers, of bus drivers, college students striking over their tuition. There's threats of a strike at General Electric. And amidst all of these little strikes, there's kind of starting this undercurrent, this whisper, this murmur of a general strike all across America. Workers from all sorts of different industries all getting together and striking. And we're not just even talking about workers here. We're talking about people who are in the debt of, either college, student loan debt, credit card debt, in debt to their fucking landlord for the place they fucking live, in debt to, the bank for their mortgage. All those people going on strike. That's what the idea of this general strike is at this point. Let's take a look. If you want more of a fucking definition of what this general strike is, let's go to this Vice article where they kind of lay it out. A general strike is when workers from not just one company, but across different businesses and even industries go on strike together in pursuit of some common goal. If you live in the U.S., you'd be excused for having never heard of a general strike before because they're extremely rare and haven't happened since just after World War II. You're talking about a very difficult thing to pull off, said Eric Loomis, professor of history at the University of Rhode Island. It requires a lot more solidarity among American workers than has typically happened in American history. And as we're now seeing, though, these times are anything but typical. A key feature of general strikes is that they don't start off as general strikes. Historically, they've begun as regular work stoppage by a single union. In the early 20th century, these would occasionally erupt into general strikes when the state tried to suppress it. University of California, Santa Barbara history professor Nelson Lichtenstein said in an interview, workers in other unions who ordinarily would have little skin in the fight suddenly realize that's no longer the case. So Jimmy Dore is currently calling on Bernie Sanders to use his mailing lists and his campaign infrastructure and his connection to several of these prominent unions, because so many of the unions, of course, endorse Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders' campaign is chummy with the leadership of most of these unions. So no one really in this country at this point is better to organize this general strike than Bernie Sanders. And Jimmy Dore is basically chastising Bernie and calling him a coward and a pussy because he won't do it. Or at least he hasn't done it yet. And I think we all know that it's pretty unlikely that Bernie Sanders would take that kind of action. So, I do have some issues with this idea. And I'm not, when I say I have issues with it, I don't want any of this to be construed as like, I'm flatly against it. I'm honestly, at this point, agnostic on the idea. I've not made up my mind one way or the other. You can consider me kind of like, I guess, a centrist on the issue of whether or not to strike. But I guess the fact that I'm even considering it means I'm not a centrist in the, political mainstream. But on this issue, I'm kind of in the middle. I can see some pros. I could see some cons. I could see how it could work. But I could also see some ways it could go horribly, horribly wrong. Now, first of all, one thing we should all recognize whether you're on, whether you believe in this or you think this is the dumbest fucking shit you've ever heard, we should recognize that the establishment is not just going to, oh, everyone's on strike. Well, I guess, we better give in to their demands, They could use some of their giant mountains of money to, give in to the demands, but they're just as likely to use that money to bust up the strike so that they can continue to make those disgusting amounts of profits, henceforth and forever. Typically, we could just look at the microcosm of any one strike, right? Usually a giant corporation when its workers go on strike is not just like, well, they're on strike, let's give in to their demands. No, they do everything in their power to stop that strike. So it's not beyond the pale to believe that if a bunch of people just say, like, I'm not going to pay my rent anymore, we can have like this comforting notion of like, well, they can't evict all of us, but, maybe they can. Or maybe they can evict enough of you to scare the rest into start paying that rent again. Maybe all you get for the trouble of, I'm not paying my credit cards, I'm not paying my student loans, I'm not paying my mortgage. Maybe all you get for that is, exponentially increasing interest on those loans, on those debts, and a foreclosure on your house. Maybe that's your reward for standing up against the fucking system. And everybody's kind of just left fucking with their head hanging and destitute. And then they're even, they're even more likely to work for fucking peanuts because they're now more desperate for the fucking money. And the establishment's just like, remember that time you tried to stand up against us? Wasn't that fun? Now you're even in a worse scenario than you were before. Now we got you even more by the balls. So this could spectacularly fucking backfire in that respect. Another problem, as I'll show you this. I got it right here. Another problem is that Democratic voters who, you would think would be the most likely to get behind some kind of strike like this still trust the fucking mainstream media. Americans' trust in mass media edges down to 41%, but that's driven 69% of Democrats trust the fucking media. They still trust it. Only 15% of independents, only 15% of Republicans trust it. Only 36% of independents trust it, but 69% of Democratic voters trust the fucking media. And you know what that media is going to do? It's going to work overtime to villainize anybody who participates in a fucking general strike. And who else is going to villainize people who participate in a general strike? Donald fucking Trump. And every fucking Republican. So you're going to have most of the Democrats talking shit on the people striking. You're going to have all of the Republicans talking shit on the people striking. You're going to have mainstream media, left and right, talking shit about the people striking. And every time someone gets evicted from their house and has a sob story, the media is going to seek them out and be like, hey, now that you've lost your house, now that you've lost the roof over your head, don't you feel like a fool that Bernie Sanders talked you into this reckless course of action? And the ones who say, no, I'm glad I stood up for my principles, they ain't getting on TV. But the ones who say, yeah, that son of a bitch fucking led me astray, they're going to be all over that motherfucking TV set. Oh, you better believe that. So you're going to have a really uphill battle in terms of the optics of this strike, because you're going to have the entirety of the establishment, left-wing establishment, right-wing establishment, all of them talking non-stop, relentless, round-the-clock shit against this strike and ratcheting up the fear, ratcheting it up. You know, in this time of turmoil, as COVID-19 rages across the land, what do these fucking leftists do? They destabilize things even more. We're already living in uncertain times of fear and want and need. And these callous leftists, they're just destabilizing things further for their own selfish needs. That's going to be the fucking narrative. And for a lot of people who aren't looking at some sort of alternate left-wing insurgent media source like Jimmy Dore, that's going to be the only fucking narrative. And, you know, the other problem is that even the people who are tuned in to these insurgent, alternative, leftist media sources, it's not like there's like homogeny there. It's not like all those people agree. It's not like all those, I mean, like Jimmy Dore is the only person in the alternative left-wing media at this point that I've seen calling for this general strike. Maybe there's some other voices calling for it. I don't know. But he's the only one I've seen so far. And so there's not, at least right now, one clear message being broadcast out of this space. So even the people who do go outside of the mainstream media establishment bubble, a lot of them are going to go to right-wing alternative media, which might as well just be right-wing mainstream media because they say the same shit. They're still like, yeah, Donald Trump, woo, Trump. And you know where Trump's going to fall on this issue. And the alternative left-wing media, they haven't found one voice. I mean, I don't even want them to, honestly. Maybe on this issue, it might be, like, especially if this actually happens, I would hope they would all, rally in one direction. But overall, I like the fact that there's not, like, I can go to Kyle Kulinski and hear one thing, and go to Jimmy Dore and hear another thing, and go to fucking Cenk Uygur and hear another thing, although I don't really go to Cenk Uygur. But, just for illustrative purposes, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like the fact that you don't hear the exact same script from everyone on the fucking left, and there's independent thinkers. But in this instance, it doesn't really help. This is an instance where you see the weakness of that, where you see the weakness of not all falling in lockstep and marching in one direction. And of course, the alternative left, the alternative right-wing media, the Ben Shapiros, the Steven Crowders, the whoever's, you all know where they're going to fall on this. Bunch of lazy fucking bums, don't want to work, don't want to pay their fair share, destabilizing the country for their own selfish ends. That's going to be their narrative. And you know what? We live in a fearful fucking country. I think we all agree, at least I hope we all agree, that there's no mechanism that controls people in this country more than fear. It's the easiest, most proven means of controlling people. And people are already afraid right now. They're afraid of this devastating pandemic that they're seeing exponentially grow every day. They're seeing the death tolls mount. They're seeing refrigerated trucks full of bodies, outside of New York hospitals. They're hearing more and more about the just how robust this virus is, the kind of conditions it can survive, how long it can survive on the air, how long it can survive on every surface. People are fucking scared shitless of that. You throw on a mountain of economic instability, and then what do you have when a bunch of laborers say we're going on strike? What do you have at that point if you're the establishment? You know what you fucking have? You have a scapegoat. You have a scapegoat you could point at and say, it's all their fault. The reason the economy's bad, it's them. Because they won't suck it up and pay their debts and go to work and provide us with the goods and services that we need to keep this great country of America going and churning. Land of the free, home of the brave. Whatever happened to sacrifice? That's the narrative. So I'm not saying, I actually have another point on this. Sorry, I'm not done yet. So the Democrats, and let's go to a visual aid for this. The Democrats right now still in poll after poll massively favoring Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders. You got Joe Biden at 51%. You got Bernie Sanders at 32%. And like I said, this should be the time where Bernie Sanders' case is stronger than ever. I mean, he's the Medicare for all candidate, and we are in the midst of a pandemic. Joe Biden is the employer insurance candidate, and everyone's losing their fucking jobs. It should be a no-brainer for people to be like, oh, Bernie Sanders was right. Bernie Sanders talk extensively about the need to protect the working class. Right now, the working class is getting fucked harder than ever. And people, it hasn't moved the fucking needle. These people are still on fucking Team Biden. What does this have to do with this general strike? Well, if people in this country aren't yet radical enough to accept a moderate leftist like Bernie Sanders, then do you really think that they're ready for a general strike? I mean, Bernie is 303 delegates behind Joe Biden at this point. There's still half the country has yet to vote, but nothing is moving that needle towards Bernie Sanders. There is nothing moving the needle towards Bernie Sanders right now. Everything that you would look at and would logically say, oh, this should be helping Bernie Sanders right now, none of it is. They still want Joe Biden. And it doesn't matter what the fuck you say to them. You say, hey, this guy's got fucking dementia. He can't get through a sentence. Well, but I still support him. He's been accused of rape, and there's a bunch of videos of him being creepy as fuck. I still support him. He literally ran on, you can keep your employer insurance that you bargained for and fought for. Well, now people are getting laid off, and they're still not taking a second look and saying, I now see the flaw in that. So, you would think with all that going on, people would be embracing some sort of more radical politics, but that just isn't happening. Nothing's bearing it out. They continue to support Joe Biden. So, like I said, if they're not willing to just move to a moderate leftist like Bernie Sanders, then it's very hard to imagine them embracing a populist left revolution in the form of a general strike. Now, all of that being said, I'm not against the general strike. I'm not against it, and I'm not yet for it, but I'm trying really, really fucking hard to convince myself to be for it. Because, honestly, if you can't look at a situation like this and get something done, if this isn't the time to put your foot down and say, all right, fuck this. This system is clearly fucking broken. If now's not the time, then fucking when? Right? We can't afford it to be fucking 4 years from now. We can't afford for it to be 4 years from now, or 8 years from now, or 12 years from now. It's got to be now. So I can understand where Jimmy Dore is coming from on this. But I don't want people to go headlong into something like that without first carefully considering what exactly it is we're fucking talking about and how the establishment is going to react to that. Because it's not just going to lay over and die. And anyone who thinks it is fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, all right? So let's move on really quickly to another story I just want to cover very briefly. So I saw this. A lot of states, in reaction to the coronavirus are doing their ballots by mail right now. And some conservatives are taking issue with it. So this is a thread on Reddit. Voting by mail is a terrible Democrat idea that invites fraud. This is an article from Breitbart. So, I mean, it's good to see the conservatives care so much about the integrity of our elections. But I think someone in this thread gave away a little bit too much of the real agenda behind this sentiment. So why would requiring, I'm reading this comment here, by the way. So why would requiring everyone that votes to have a social security number and to take a verification photo on their phone to vote electronically be bad? Seems like it would stop their normal procedure of letting anything that moves vote in California. Secondly, if we require verification, the Democrats are going to cry and scream, and the new electronic voting procedures won't be in place in time. Since voting in person would be incredibly dangerous, we will just have to wait on a safer time to hold the election, like 2024 maybe. Then Trump can run for his second term. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Yeah. So the fucking mask is like, I am concerned about voter fraud, but behind the mask, now's just too unstable of a time to have an election. We just got to let Trump be in there for, until this all passes by. Maybe another 4 years just like as a gimme for him. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he could just be president for life, and then he could pass it down through his children. Trump Jr. can be president. Ivanka can be president. Like this, they literally jerk off to this. You know that, right? They sit there like, oh, yeah, and then Ivanka will be president, and by that time she's done serving her term, Barron Trump will be old enough to be president, and then we'll just have Trump forever. Oh, more Trump! Oh, more Trump! Yeah, voting by mail is the safest option at this point. Every state that has a primary coming up should be switching to that. Many of them are. Wisconsin's governor is trying to get the state to switch to mail-in, and that's primary was supposed to be in like 2 or 3 days, but they're going to try to switch it. I don't know if that effort is going to be successful, but a lot of other states have already moved to mail-in only. And that makes complete sense in light of what's going on to not send people to polling places to, risk their lives and risk overwhelming the medical system by forcing a bunch of people to congregate in one place in the midst of a time when people are being expressly forbidden from doing that under any other circumstance. So yeah, we're going to need to have mail-in ballots, and we should do that probably for the general as well if this is still a threat and a problem by November. Anyway, now is the time when I talk to the people who have submitted super chats and donations. So let's get to it. Bloop, bloop-a-doop, boop-a-doo. All right. Let's see. Where did he start? Ever done Molly? No. No, I heard she's bad in bed. No, I know. I have never done it. I was about to hit the sack, then you started streaming. Have my money, you fucking scammer. Thank you. And now this stream has turned into Abandon Hope. No. Abandon Hope is a very different concept. Abandon Hope, I play and react in, to videos. This is more like I have an outline of topics I want to talk about, and I show certain sources that, back up what I'm saying or offer sort of illustrative examples. So totally different, not the same fucking concept at all. Unless you're just referring to the nature of you feel like you're abandoning hope as you watch, which I can understand that. Loving these rants. Welcome back, 2011 TJ. Glad the chaos of the world brought you back right when we need you the most. Thank you. Had a dream I met 2009 TJ at a gas station last night. I awkwardly waited for you to check out, then asked for a picture. Thanks for the years of entertainment, big guy. I appreciate your kind, generous donation to the stream and to this channel. If we're ever at a gas station and we're no longer quarantined, you're free to ask for a picture, but I don't really carry pictures of myself around in my wallet or anything. So you're probably just going to get told that I don't have one. But, never know. Maybe that day I'll happen to have a fucking, a glossy photo of myself in my pocket just in case I run into you. Bernie fucking Sanders just gave $11. Didn't say anything, just donated. Thank you. Kyle Kalinske and David Pakman may also announce their support for this strike in the future, for all we know. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out and where people fall on the issue. Aren't these fucks on the Donald the same fucks who screeched that Obama would declare himself president for life? Yeah, well, they don't like that. They don't want Obama to be president for life. They want Trump to be president for life. So, they don't have a problem with the idea of someone being president for life. They just want it to be their guy. That's where they're at this point. So let's now look at some super chats. Those were the donations. We need to find. Here we go. You should have kept the stash. Filters Corona air. Really? Because I heard the Corona just gets caught in the mustache. I heard that's what happens. Avery Jack Black just gave $5. Didn't say shit. Thank you very much. $4.99. Guy says invade China. I don't know. Why should we invade China? Is that something that's going to be beneficial to us in some way? I don't really see how it would be, but you can make a case. We can talk about it. Marxist Leninism is the only way. Can you not see? No, I don't agree with that. I don't think we need to go quite that far. At least not right now. Stores hire more people. Rent strikers get evicted. I mean, yeah, that is a very real possibility. Anyone else notice that debate between different circles of political thought? What's more common, vigorous, and more effective back in 2016? I think you meant to say was more common, vigorous, and effective back in 2016. Not just from people, but also from Bernie. Yeah, I think that Bernie definitely played it a lot safer in the 2020 campaign, which honestly was a lot more dangerous for him, I think. I think 2016 Bernie was not, yeah, he let Hillary off the hook sometimes for certain things, but he was much better at, making specific criticisms towards her. And, the Bernie Sanders of 2016, if one of his surrogates wrote Hillary Clinton is corrupt, he wouldn't have come out and said, actually Hillary is a good person and, she would never do nothing bad. I think he would have fucking backed up his surrogate. But, in 2016, when one of his surrogates points out Joe Biden's blatant corruption, he's like, no, Joe's not corrupt. Of course Joe's fucking corrupt. There's cognitive dissonance at this point because, when it comes to the corruption on the Democratic side. He's willing to allude to it and he's willing to address it, but he's not willing to name names and be specific. It's just this vague, nebulous sort of, oh, it's bad, it's bad on our side too, but he's not like saying Chuck Schumer's a piece of shit, Nancy Pelosi's shit, Joe Biden's a corrupt piece of shit. He's not out there saying those things. Whereas on the Republican side, he has no problem calling out specific people. And that I think hurt him this time around. I think he needed to make the case that Joe Biden was corrupt. And, I don't understand the idea of running against someone and not drawing that distinction and, doing this constant Joe Biden's my friend bullshit. Joe Biden's not your friend, and he's not a friend of the American people. I like when TJ says neat. Oh, neat. I brought this up and got sacked at work. It's bull. I'm assuming when you say you brought this up and got sacked, you're talking about the strike. That's not uncommon for people who bring up striking to get fucking fired. I haven't paid student loans in 10 years. So you've been on strike for a while. Would voting by mail help Bernie? I don't think so at this point. Thoughts on people in chat calling for revolution? I mean, at this point, what better time than now? As I said before. Hey, TJ, where is the Friday's deep fat fried video? I don't know. It is Friday, right? It's not? I don't know. I don't know where Friday's deep fat fried video is. I'll look into that. What do you think of the stimulus relief package? I think it's a handout to corporate America. There's some good things in it, but man, we had to fucking give a lot of money to corporate interests just to let them, just to fucking basically bribe corporate America into letting any money go to everyday people. Everyone in America, you get a check for $1,200 and you get some stronger, unemployment stuff. And what do we get? We just get, hundreds of billions of dollars. No strings attached. We can do whatever we want. And, the few little provisions that were in there to kind of control them have already just kind of melted away. Donald Trump, in his signing statement, took away the ability of Congress to, oversee how the stimulus money was spent. He just added it in a signing statement. By the way, they don't have to listen to Congress at all. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Che Guevara is my hero. Good for you. Let's see if we had any more come in since then. We had a lot more come in since then. Where do they start? Oh fuck, there's a shit ton. Let's see. On a happy note, have you seen the pot stores in Canada? They look like high-end jewelry stores with open glass bowls so you could smell it. That's pretty fucking awesome. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. What happened to Jim Ass? I believe he died. Yeah, I think he's actually dead. Also, my prediction for the future election winnings based on this epidemic's impact: George Bush III, 2024, Donald Trump Jr., 2028, Jeb Bush Jr., 2032, Jenna Bush, 2036, etc. So you think it's going to be an alternating Bush-Trump dynasty from now on? The Trumps and the Bushes will take turns. Usually when people talk about revolution, they speak about it from the perspective of the media reporting it as such. Yeah, which, of course, the media is... the establishment media, the mainstream media, are not going to give fair and balanced coverage to this potential revolution. Now, when we're talking about a general strike, I don't know that a general strike amounts to the same thing as a revolution. I guess it depends on your definition of revolution. That's not exactly a violent revolution. I think that's an altogether different thing. So we probably should be maybe somewhat careful using the term. And I think, if you're to believe the political analysis of Kyle Kulinski, revolution is a term that Bernie Sanders maybe should have been a little bit more careful with using because it maybe scared away some voters. Now, I don't know how much I buy that personally, but if Stephen Hawking was so smart, why couldn't he walk? Holy shit. Once again. Revolution will be a bloodbath. The left doesn't have the manpower to go against independents, Republicans, the National Guard, and military. Well, that's why I don't think anyone's talking right now about an armed revolution in the streets with Molotovs and shit like that. But I mean, a lot of the people who identify as independent are on the left. Republicans, yeah, I mean, Republicans have all the guns because most people on the left are anti-gun. National Guard and military, that's a perfectly valid point. There's a good reason why, an armed insurgency against the government is not a great idea. But I mean, really, it's not leftists who usually talk about that. I mean, if anyone's talking about taking up arms against the government, it's usually people on the right, not people on the left. I mean, that's like their whole justification for having guns in the first place, so that I got to have guns so I can protect myself from the government if they ever try to take my guns. So it's kind of circular logic, but whatever. So I don't really see too many leftists calling for blood in the streets style revolution. I mostly see that from the right. But even then, it's usually not. Usually they frame it as like a defensive measure. Like, when the evil commie government comes for my guns, that's when we'll revolt against them. So whatever. If there is going to be a revolution, how do you think it would kick off? No idea. Once again, general strike, not the same thing as a revolution. Although maybe it is a revolutionary action. I don't know. Let's see. Please unblock me on Twitter. And then they give their Twitter handle. If I blocked you on Twitter, it was either for a good reason or because you followed Dusty Smith and I got fucking crazy and blocked all Dusty Smith's followers that one time. My Twitter DMs are open. So if you want to write me under another account and make your case, I'm willing to listen to it. But I'm not just going to do it because you gave money here. Hey, man, thanks for making some entertaining material. Hope the best. Yeah, my dude. All right, cool. I got screwed over by the bill, so I can't get the payment because I'm 19 and still claimed as a dependent. That sucks. New Jersey and maybe more will be voting on recreational weed. Well, I hope they vote yes, because it's pretty ridiculous that recreational weed is still not a thing in this country. Well, it is, but I mean, I mean nationally, of course, is what I'm saying. Go on Chapo. I've never been invited. I've never really watched it or listened to it, so I don't really even know what it's about. I'm not really super keen on being a guest on other people's shit. Usually it's just kind of an annoying experience, so I'm not sure about that, but thank you for the suggestion. Let's see here. Got some more coming in. I just saw one come in. Seriously, though, we need to bring back debate, like when Kyle raped Razor Fist in front of thousands, but for centrist Dems as well. I mean, there's plenty of debates that happen on YouTube. I don't really like debates. I don't really watch debates. I think that they tend to be really fucking dull and uninformative. And they tend to be more of a spectacle for people to cheerlead for their tribalistic side, like, go my team. It kind of just feels like medieval times where you walk in and someone gives you a blue crown and they're like, you go for the blue knight, So I don't know if that's really necessarily my bag, but whatever. Got a few more coming in. What do you think of Governor Cuomo? I keep hearing about what a great leader he's proven to be and all this stuff. I haven't seen any of his like press conference shit. I haven't really read up on what he's doing. I know that New York is a hard hit state. I also live in a hard hit state, and so I'm kind of maybe a little bit more focused on the local. But I should probably kind of look into that Como shit, especially since some Democrat establishment folks are already kind of touting him as an alternative in case this Biden shit doesn't work out. They might just try to like get some kind of weird deal going where they just give it to Como at the convention. There have been whispers of that. I don't know if that's a realistic thing that might actually happen or if that's just a weird fantasy of establishment Democrats who are maybe a little dissatisfied with their candidate. And why wouldn't they be? Because he's lame. Thoughts on a war with Venezuela provoked by Trump? I'm against any war. Obviously not any war. I mean, if someone else is the aggressor in a war, then sure, we should be defensive. But I'm against these endless wars and American imperialism and using American tax dollars to send American men and women to go die for the benefit of the wealthy, because Venezuela is not out there hurting everyday American people. They've not done a single fucking thing to the American people. So, but they just have interests that are counter to the national interest of the U.S. government. That's not a good enough reason for them to die, in my opinion. Blah, 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 blah. And about the rent right now, a bill is moving through Canada government to have rent waived for now. It's getting passed fast. Why are you doing a bit of touch-up work on it? I'm sorry, that was very incoherent, but I'm glad Canada is passing a bill. Doesn't really help me, doesn't really help any American, but, good for Canada. One of our state reps died from coronavirus. People are dying. That's what it's doing. I think I already answered this. Do you think there would be a retaliation against China due to the lack of containment of the virus? I mean, it doesn't seem like any other. I mean, like the fact that it's literally everywhere on the globe, it doesn't seem like anyone else has done much better of a job of containing it. I mean, it's not like the U.S. did a great job of containing it. We only had 15 cases at one point. And like I said, Trump was on TV saying, soon it's going to be 0. And now it's fucking 250,000. It's more than 250,000 cases. So it's not like we've done some kind of fantastic, amazing job containing it. But yeah, China was the country of origin. And I know right now it's kind of a right-wing jingoistic talking point to, saber rattle with China over this. But, seriously, I think that once this is all resolved, I think there does need to be a dispassionate, objective look at what caused this to happen in China. And if it turns out that this had its origin in their wet markets, then I think there should be international pressure on China to ramp up its regulations. I mean, they're an authoritarian fucking country. They can have they can have something that's the equivalent of the fucking FDA. I mean, for fuck's sake. I don't think it's unreasonable to, say, hey, this virus got its start in your backyard, and this is not exactly the first time this has happened either. So, if you want to continue to be trading partners and shit, maybe you need to address these problems in your system. Can Superman outrun the Flash? It's been definitively proven that he can't. Canonically, the Flash is ever so slightly faster than Superman. What do you think of Governor Half Whitmer? I don't really know that governor. What's he the governor of? Is that Mississippi's governor? Let me look it up. No, she's the governor of Michigan. I don't really know much about her. I don't know anything about her. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is with her. I'm not going to sit here and try to fake my way through an answer to that question. Como is hated on a lot of topics, but has done a great job on COVID-19. All right. Well, like I said, I'll have to look into that. If anything, the wet markets should be closed. Absolutely. Especially if we discover that's the origin of the fucking virus, which seems the most likely culprit at this point. Although that's by no means certain. Let's see over here. All right, looks like we've gone through all the donations, and I don't see any new super chats coming in, so I'll give that maybe a second. But if nothing comes in, we're pretty much done at this point. Because I'm out of things to say. If you guys are out of things to ask, then I guess we can wrap it up. But I'll give maybe the last chance call, and we'll give it a fucking second here. Let's see. Got a new one here. Land of the free, and yet nudity is never allowed. Yeah, if it's the land of the free, why can't I walk butt naked down the street, huh? I mean, plenty of fucking places around the world. I mean, people either walk around nude on the streets or, walk around with very little clothing on. You look at fucking, tribal peoples in India and Africa and other places like that. People wear little to no clothing. You go places like France, there's nude beaches. And somehow society doesn't implode, somehow the fucking trains keep running on time and shit. So I don't think that nudity is the great destroyer that American culture seems to think that it is. All right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap this on the fuck up. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for rating. Thank you guys for commenting. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for doing all of the wonderful little things that you do. I appreciate each and every last motherfucking one of you. And I bid you adieu. Ah, shit. Of course, they start coming in after I say that. All right. Hold on. Do a couple here. What do you think your videos will be like in 10 years? I have no idea. I don't even know if, these sort of independent content creation thing will even still be a thing that's going on, or if, anything like even sort of approaching that will just be like squeezed out of the marketplace by, giant corporations like it's already happening. I mean, YouTube has already basically turned into television to some extent. So, I just saw one come in for $9.99. I'm not seeing it anywhere. Let's see over here. I guess I already saw that one. Oh, it looks like the chat's just way behind. I see what's going on. All right. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time. Fare thee well. If your comment comes in after this point, it's not going to get read, but, that's just life.